I understand that there's some work being done in the village, some striping. I also understand there was some kind of contract signed to do some kind of work for paving. I don't know if it was on the roads or the walkways. Then I heard there was some kind of contract to do some kind of work with the benches. Could you tell me what these contracts are, how much they entail, and how come you, David Israel, I assume you signed all the contracts, David?
Yes.
You signed all these contracts without the authorization of the Delegate Assembly. Now, I have the bylaws in front of me here, which I would like to read something in case you're not familiar. Maybe the delegates would like to hear it. Expenditures previously budgeted in excess of $1,000 are required to be approved in advance by the Officers Committee, the Executive Board, and finally the Delegate Assembly. Requests for expenditures under $1,000 shall be presented to the President for his approval. Now, all these projects, I'm sure, are over $1,000, aren't they, David?
Yes.
Well, how come you never came to the Delegate Assembly for approval?
Because all of these projects fall into an emergency category where life safety is involved, stripes that you can't see, bus stops that you can trip over, benches that are falling over. And we felt that this should not be further delayed. Now, Fausto may have more on this.
May I interrupt you and repeat something else?
I think we're still answering your question.
Well, this is part of the question.
Fausto. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Special and emergency meetings. Special meetings of the Delegate Assembly may be held at any time on the call of the President at his request. If you needed an emergency meeting, and you've been working on this for weeks and weeks because I spoke to people on the big committee, and they've been working on it for weeks. This is not something that happened overnight. You have taken this money at your discretion, thousands and thousands of dollars of the residents' money, and spent it on these projects. I didn't say they didn't have to be done. But who gives you the right to spend our money? You have a Delegate Assembly. You're getting rid of the power of the Delegate Assembly. You people who are delegates, you're turning into nobody and nothing, according to David Israel. You're letting him get away with murder. This is maybe $30,000 that's being spent. You never got the time or the call, the courtesy to approve this, which calls for in the bylaws. That's a lot of baloney. It was an emergency. I don't believe it, and you know it's not true.
Okay, I'd like to answer that. The road striping has been on the table for almost 18 months. And it has gone through the bid committee, the officers committee, and it was approved, and it is budgeted in the budget that was voted on by the Delegate Assembly.
No budget money for that striping. That's not true. That's another, don't tell me that's
It's part of the infrastructure,
This
sir.
is like the $2 million that was spent on the roads that Mr. Israel said was budgeted, and we proved he was wrong. This is money being spent now that has to be approved by the Delegate Assembly. Anything over $1,000 has to be approved by the Delegate Assembly. And I'm going to find out what you're responsible for. Believe me.
Thank you, Mario.
I'm not even going to attempt to answer you.
Don't answer me because you can't.
All right. Thank you, Myra. Who's next? Esther.
Okay, this kind of touches on one of the same issues, the Delegate Assembly. There were several amendments proposed to the bylaws. They were handed to the advisory committee, which then handed it off to the officers committee, which then handed it off to the executive board. Each and every one of those committees voted no on it, which was not a great big surprise to anyone. But then, it is via precedent and the bylaws supposed to go to the delegate assembly to be heard. And funny enough, one of those amendments said term limits. I could swear I heard two of the people up here say they had to run because somebody's term limits was up. But anyway, it was never passed to the delegate assembly because suddenly the attorney on a leash, Rod Tennyson, came up with some veto power for the executive committee, who said, we don't have to ask anything from the delegate assembly if the executive committee says no. So basically, in that statement, all of you sitting here, all of you sitting and sharing what you don't know, you are now redundant. You are as useful as a third armpit. You have no power. Maybe you'll get to vote on the budget. Maybe you'll get some sop thrown to you. But any issues of major importance, you have no say-so, because the executive committee, if they don't like it, will simply say, no, too bad, tough bugs, you don't get to vote on it. This is what we are fighting for. This is what we are saying. You need to please recognize the fact of what's going on. No consultation for the budget. There's no lines in the budget. We have no clue what's being spent for what. No passing on of the amendments. No, nothing. What are you going to do about it? Now, I can tell you, in fact, you know what? There was an action plan to be done today. And there are people here ready to do the action. If we can get some kind of a simple response here, then maybe we won't need to. Please hear what we are saying. And you guys out there, please hear what we're saying. This is for your benefit as well. And you, my friend Grace out there, who boo and everything, with all your might when somebody speaks. Hear what I'm saying, Grace. You will have no power to vote on anything of any import in this village.
I'm not deaf. I hear you and I've heard enough.
Okay, no, none of this back and forth. Please, finish up your statement.
Do I have an answer as to where this is going with the no power of the delegate assembly?
How many of you just voted to replace an officer of UCO on this board? How many of you voted? Doesn't look like people don't have a vote to me. The bylaw is so specific.
Oh, bullshit. You can't let that hold water.
If the executive board approves, it moves on. They did not approve. It's an if-then clause. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. It's a simple conditional. All right?
People, I don't care if I'm the only one. This has been done before in many places. I hope you follow along. If you don't, it's on you. I will see everybody else at the executive board. If you disagree with the whole way, the whole road that this is taken, please stand up and turn your back and then walk out.
Thank you. Very useful.
The delegates are now walking out of the assembly in protest. This is the culmination of a long-standing dispute between delegates, residents of Century Village, and the UCO administration, headed up by David Israel. The protesters are fed up with the way the administration has been acting in bad faith and representing them. As you can see, many residents remain in their seats, apparently happy with the status quo. But the protest not only sends a message to the administration, it also underscores the deep schism that is now present in Century Village.